Welcome. This is going to be part 5 to the Thank You Karmics video. It's interesting. I wish I could turn it up, but I don't want to get the video changed. But there's a song that's playing on the radio called Thinking About Love. And I like it because she's talking about like singing to somebody who's like so dead set on giving her up when there are so many wonderful things still there and remembering all the loving times. And there are moments when we are that for our twins and for others, and they are that for us, and others are that for us. Anyways, what I was saying in the last video, and I find it interesting that now I'm sitting in a place where there is light, so maybe this is some good enlightenment for some of you. Um, Oftentimes we get so hurt, and hurt people, healed people, and we get to a place where we've hidden away parts of our soul to avoid getting hurt again, and we cannot really get the healing that we've asked for sometimes until we are faced with our own reflection, or somebody who is actually worse than what we were doing. Sometimes I know spirit laughs at us silly humans. Sometimes we need it. We need the big stick lessons. I'm one of those people who did formerly need that a lot. And sometimes I like it because you learn a lot faster with the harder lessons than you do with the small, simple, easy ones. It all just depends on how you think about it. But in a really big way, you want to be really thankful to the people, to the third party karmics that they call in, because oftentimes they're ready for that sort of fight. They're ready. Like, they'll put up with a certain level of toxicity and mistreatment, and they're in a place where they're not able to empathize with your twin, and so they can treat them in the way that they were treating you, things like that. And so whether it's cheating or head games or gaslighting or manipulations or financial trappings or gold digging or any sort of anything, like anything that you would typically look at and go, oh, I can't stand that, it's horrible of that person to be that way. But really, I mean, think about it. Sometimes we need those lessons. Sometimes it's when we are faced with others that do those things to us that teach us self-love and to stand up for ourselves and to stop placating and stand in our truth and be genuine. And sometimes it has to be a person that really treats you so awfully that and repeatedly and maybe even like breaks their promises and does things like that, does really damnable things, that you finally stand up for yourself, you finally have enough. And sometimes that person has to be able to get through years of your own cycles or our twins own cycles, where we might go between like, well, a lot of times there's there's the drama triangle. That's a good thing to look up. And then there's also like the victim villain cycle, to where we'll see ourselves as heroes and the other person as being a villain, even if we're not looking at it that way. Like, we're doing all good and they're doing all bad, but it's never like that. And oftentimes when we put ourselves on a pedestal like that, or we put them on a pedestal, to where anytime that they don't do something in the time we want or the way that we want, then we automatically drop them off and they're just horrible people. Or if they screw up or do something in emotional moments or confusion, then we just, no, you're horrible, I'm cutting you off, I'm done with you, dun dun dun, and we don't look at how, well, like, well, we've probably made mistakes like that too, and if we haven't already, we're probably about to if we're in that mindset. But you really want to be grateful that those people are willing to have those fights with your twin and do those things, and both of them win in the end. Even if when they break up or separate, it's a big horrible drama thing, they still end up learning something and going into their next relationship in the next stage of evolution. And oftentimes when you're in a karmic relationship, even though you're reflecting each other in that moment, your timelines are not meant to continue on. You're only in it for a season, however long that season lasts. And so, like, there will always be kind of a dissonance, a difference, a feeling of something missing in it. And it depends too. I mean, some karmics are still in a situation of scarcity, to where they're mostly just worried about money, or they're associating their self-worth with having some sort of perfect image of themselves and the family they have and the amount of money they have, or they have to have a certain level of feeling of control, or feeling like there's never a threat or anyone around or anything like that. And same thing with our DMs, with our twins, with other DFs. We all we all do these things at some point until we learn we don't need to. And we learn to be grateful for everyone involved in our stories, whether they're people that we know are our twins or think are our twins or turn out to be karmics or know are karmics in the beginning or soulmates, like all of the pieces, the good parts and the contrast, because there are no bad parts. It's just contrast. It's helping you learn something that you asked for. Whether you recognize it in this moment or not, you will eventually. In any case, the other thing is to recognize that karmics are often, so I like to relate it to the story, the old Merlin stories and King Arthur stories. And if you think about the Lady of the Lakes challenge, or even if you think about Neverending Story when he had to face the mirror, and we face a distorted version of ourselves. And the irony is that a lot of times when you're first going into separation, or your twin, whether DM or DF, is bringing in a third party, or brought or came with third parties, and there could be multiple of them, we often see them as external different individuals, which is true, but they brought to us as a distorted reflection of ourselves. And much like in the Lady of the Lake challenge, and in the Neverending Story, like we will fight them, and even in some ways just by refusing to let go, like we will hold on, and we will like stand in our power in that way. But we're actually disempowering ourselves, because the challenge with the Lady of the Lake thing is recognizing that you have to love those parts of yourself too. You need to embrace your dark side to recognize that any karmic third parties that your twin is with, or has been with, or even just some, an old thing that happened that you're holding on to, that is a reflection of yourself that you are fighting, and there's no way to win. They are you. They know everything that you might do. They can fight in all the ways that you can fight, and they may not ever be able to best you, but you kind of end up in a stalemate. And often the way, so one, love them. Like, that's the first thing. And that's often the hardest thing for them to do in return for you. But when you genuinely get to a place of genuine appreciation for them, and it's not just, I want you to let go, so I'm going to love you. No, like when you genuinely get there, I'm gonna have to do a new video soon. When you genuinely get there and you genuinely appreciate them and love them, and you're not judging for where they are, you're appreciating, and not in a spiteful, like, I'm glad you're willing to have the fight with them. No, like, you genuinely appreciate that, and you pray for them, for getting their healing too. Then they start to do that same thing. And it's funny